Good evening friends, welcome to PDF for Exams YouTube channel. First, I would like to say sorry because I have not been able to make videos for last 2 to 3 days because I have been traveling to my native place. But from now I would try to be regular and make videos on daily basis. So today is day 22, we are learning geography, and in this video we will be learning about a very important topic that is called oceanography. This is very important, and why it is important we'll see that during this video. So as we know, there are several very important factors. What are those factors? So we know this very well, that 71% of our Earth's surface is covered by water. This fact you must be knowing, you must have studied in your junior class books. And 29% of our Earth's surface is land. This is also very important or very known factor, as 71% is water, then the other important remaining percent would be of obviously land. And as we know, our population is increasing day by day. Population of Earth is increasing regularly, and because of this increase in population, our demand of resources is also increasing. What are the resources that we need? The fossil fuels, the plants, or anything, whatever the resources, the natural resources which we need, this is also increasing day by day as the population is increasing. But the land is very limited. Until now we have explored only land. Ocean has not been explored at much extent. That is 71% of this body which is present on Earth has not been explored very well. That's why it is a very significant topic, and we need to understand, and people and humans are and scientists exploring day by day more and more about this, because lots of resources are present in this water. As we know, the area is also huge, so the amount of resources would be huge in this part. We'll see how the resources are divided in what part of this ocean later on. But before that, let's see what are the few interesting facts. There are several interesting facts which are given over here, so we just let's take a look over this, and after that we'll see the other segments. So over here you can see around 70% of the Earth is covered by ocean. This I've already told, 70 or 71%. The average depth of the ocean are 12,200 feet. And very important and significant fact, 70% of oxygen we breathe is produced by oxygen. How oxygen is produced? We know oxygen is produced by the process of photosynthesis. And how this photosynthesis is done? This photosynthesis is done by plants. But till now we have seen that plants are only present on Earth's surface, but there are several plants which are present under the seawater, and they consume the sunlight and do the process of photosynthesis to produce an oxygen, and those oxygen consist of 70%. That means 70% of oxygen that is present on the Earth is produced by the plants which are under the oceans. And 97%, and this is also another important factor, although these important facts are not important for your UPSC exam, but you should know in general, and because of this you know why this oceanography is important. So 97% of the water present on this 70% or 71% of area is ocean. That means if the 71% is water, and if we calculate 97% of the 71%, that would be the ocean, and remaining would be the other kind of water, like rivers. Rivers are fresh source of water, lakes, underground water. These are the other sources of water which are present in form of water on our Earth's surface. So this is a very important factor. And what else we need to see over here? A few more important factors are here. The deepest known Earth ocean is Mariana Trench. Mariana Trench is the deepest known ocean. And next, longest range of mountain. What is the range of mountain? We see a mountain. This is a mountain or a hill, but range of mountain means several mountains which are lying together. So this longest range of mountain is Mid-Oceanic Ridge, which is present underwater, and it extends or stretches to 56,000 kilometers. See how huge it is. It's very huge, 56,000 kilometers. Next is mountain Mauna Kea in Hawaii rises 33 feet from its base. See the height of the ocean. This is also very long, and this is the tallest mountain in the world if its base wasn't below sea level. Now we know the fact that the tallest mountain of the world is Mount Everest, but if we consider the base, from the base if we consider, so this Mount Mauna Kea is the tallest mountain if it is considered from the base itself. Okay, so these were the interesting facts which you should know, and although it is not important for UPSC examination, but you should know, as it might be asked in some one-day examination if you are appearing for. And next we are going to see in how many parts we are going to learn this oceanography. So this oceanography is basically divided into 3 to 4 types. The first would be the oceanic relief that we are going to learn. Relief means the major kind of landforms. We have studied in geomorphology the landforms which are formed on the land due to various activities. Next that we are going to learn is salinity. Salinity means the amount of salt present in the water, and the other important factor is temperature. That means how temperature varies from surface or the ocean. So this is not only surface, below the surface of the ocean also we'll see how temperature varies. So these are the another important factor that we will be reading in this topic would be coral. Coral also you have studied, although this is a part of environment and biodiversity also, but still since geography is related to land and water, so we will study the coral reef also. So these are the important segment that we have to cover in oceanography. Before that, let me tell you one more topic or one more point. Just a minute, this pen is not working properly. Before that, we have to see the formation of our ocean. So in geomorphology, we have studied how our ocean was formed. Earlier, what was there? There was a huge landmass and water was surrounding around it. What was this huge landmass called? This was called as Pangaea, and the other water body was called as Parenthalassa. So this was a single unit of water body present over there. Later on what happened, this Pangaea split it into two parts. One went to northern hemisphere, the other went to southern hemisphere, and a nascent sea or a new sea was formed that was called as Tethys. Tethys was the first ocean or sea formed. After formation of Tethys, there were several other seas which are formed, like North Atlantic Ocean, since the movement of northern part, the Gondwana land and the Angara land or the Gondwana land and Eurasia. These are the major tectonic plates. That means they were splitting of these continental plates into several plates, and the part which moved to northern hemisphere, this splitted, and another ocean called North Atlantic Ocean was formed. North Atlantic Ocean was formed at that time, and after that South Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Arabian Ocean, and so on. All the other ocean was formed in this manner. So this was how all the ocean was formed at that time. Okay. Now we'll start with ocean reliefs. Now what are these ocean reliefs? We'll see this. So as we know, and even we have seen how in our geomorphology how several kind of land forms were formed. So in this case also there are several factors which are responsible for formation of these kind of reliefs. So the first factor which is responsible for formation of these ocean relief would be tectonic plates. Again, this we have studied in our geomorphology. Tectonic activities. What were these tectonic activities? The interaction, the movement, the conversion or diversion of these plates. And what type of plates we had? We had two kind of plates. One was continental plate and the other was oceanic plate. So due to interaction of these plates, either convergence if two plates move towards each other, or if two plates move away from each other. Due to this interaction, the base of the Earth's surface moved, or various kind of land formed during to that. So the first reason of formation of these ocean relief would be tectonic activities. Second would be erosional and depositional. So we have seen in geomorphology that due to erosional effect of water, glacier and wind, several kind of landform was formed. So in case of this, erosional and depositional activities also form various kind of relief, and interaction, as I've already told, is also a major reason for the formation of these ocean relief. So let's see how these ocean reliefs are divided. So these ocean reliefs are majorly divided into four parts. The first is continental shelf, the other is continental slope, next is continental rise, and the other is abyssal plain. So these are the major reliefs formed. Apart from these, there are other relief also, like atolls, coral reefs, submerged volcanoes, sea scraps, sea mound, gayors, trenches, ridges, hills, canyons, fracture zones. So lots of other features are all formed, but these are the major features which are significant, and we have to study them in detail, whereas we'll see these also, but in brief. Okay, so let's start with the continental shelf. What are these continental shelves and how these are formed? So we'll just see the diagram and try to understand all kind of features which are present on near the ocean or below the ocean. So when you see the ocean, if you have ever visited a coast, sea coast, or if you have traveled by ship, you might have seen the surface which is almost flat, only consists of water, so we can't see any uneven. There is uneven, those may be the waves or the tides over the ocean surface. But when you move along the bed of the ocean, what is the bed? Bed means the base, the hard part, the harder part. What is the bed of a river? When you move along a river and go to the bottom part where the land surface is found, that is called the bed of the river. Similarly, the bed, when you move over the bed of the ocean, you can see uneven. There are several uneven parts which are present in the bed of the ocean, and those unevenity or these are called the reliefs. So the first ocean relief that we are going to study is continental shelf. So continental shelf, it is found near the coast. That means the land area which is dividing the land surface from the ocean surface would be called continental shelf. So if we talk about few facts about this continental shelf, the width of this continental shelf, so the width is 70 to 80 kilometers in general. This is not fixed that this would be the width. It can be as less as 30 meter, and sometime it can be more than 150 kilometers. It depends upon ocean to ocean. It's not fixed that the range would be only 70 to 80 kilometers. It varies along the ocean. And if you talk about the depth means what? The depth from the ocean surface and the land surface. This varies from 150 to 200 meter depending upon the ocean, as I have already told. The other important factors over here that we need to understand is the slope. So what would the slope? The slope would be very gentle. Very gentle means almost flat. So it will be not more than 1 degree, 1 to 2 degree, not more than that. This is the slope. And the most important factor over here is that this is rich in resources. All kind of resources which are present are there in this continental shelf. Why this is rich in resources? Because these continental shelf are the coastal area or the continental crust which is connecting the oceanic crust, and most of the resources which are coming from the land area get deposited at this place only. And since it is gentle in slope, that's why they don't move further, and they all are deposited over here. And most kind of oceanic life is all present over here. That means 70 to 75% of biodiversity from the ocean are present in this area, 70 to 80 kilometers. This is the zone where all kind of biodiversity is present. And since biodiversity is here, biodiversity means several kind of life forms like plants, fishes, and many more other biodiversities here. Because of that, the resources are very high. Like what we consider as resources, the natural resources which we consider we can consume, like fuels, food, plants. So we can see fishes are present over here in huge amount. That's why this is very high in resources. And apart from this, it is high in resources in case of the raw material like petroleum. The world's 20% of petroleums come from this region only. You might have seen in several movies and all that extraction of petroleum products are done in seashore. So this is the continental shelf area from where those extraction of petroleum product is done. And one more important factor, this zone is photic zone. What is the photic zone? Photic zone means the zone till where the sun rays reaches. So sun ray reaches over here. Because of that, all kind of biodiversity can exist over here. If sun doesn't reaches, if sunlight doesn't reaches here, no photosynthesis can be done. As we know, for photosynthesis process, sunlight is very important. That then only they can produce oxygen. So that's why this is a photic. That's why this is a photic zone. So this is all about the continental shelf. The next important oceanic relief is continental slope. Now by the name itself, it is clear the continental slope. This is the continental slope. So over here, this slope is huge enough, so it varies from 5 degree to 25 degree from place to place. Okay, and the distance which is covered, what is the distance, how we can calculate the distance? So this distance, the distance from here to this place, this varies from 20 kilometers. This is the distance which is consisting in continental plain, and here no sediments can be deposited. Why no sediments can be deposited? Because all the sediments which comes over here, since it's huge slope, it tends to fall downwards or roll downwards, and few of the fossils might deposit over here. And next important factor is continental rise. So the continental rise is the area which is connecting the oceanic crust and the continental crust. Crust means the plates, the continental plates and the oceanic plates. So this is the continental rise is the only place where these both kinds of plates are connected. And the last important factor is abyssal plain. So this abyssal plain consists of 40% of the ocean bed. That means in the ocean bed, this 40% area consists of abyssal plain, and the nature of this abyssal plain is very simple. They are the flattest. Flattest means, as we can see, there was uneven in case of this continental shelf and continental slope and continental rise, but in case of abyssal plain, they are the flattest, smoothest, and very minute and up downs are present over there. And the sediments which are present in abyssal plain, they are very minute in nature. Minute means very small in nature, and they are eroded from land and which get deposited over here. That's why they are very plain in nature. So these are the content oceanic reliefs. Let's see the other oceanic reliefs which are present in the Earth's surface. Sorry, ocean surface, ocean bed. Before that, let's see if we are missing any point. So we have already seen that the gentle sea was sloping 70 kilometers a distance. So we have covered all the things from continental shelf, continental slopes, continental rise. We have seen a abyssal plain. We have seen. So you can see in the diagram over here, it is more clear how continental shelf is represented. Continental slope is the slope which gradient is more than as compared to continental slope. Next is the abyssal plain. You can see the area over here. It is very much plain in nature. And volcanic arc, volcanic island, coral reef. We'll see these factors later. Okay. So let's see abyssal plain. We have seen submarine trenches and deeps. So what are these trenches? So in geomorphology also we have seen when two oceanic plates or any plates, when they diverge from each other. Divergence means moving away from each other. So if we consider there are two plates, these are two plates, if they are moving from each other, away from each other, what will happen? Over here gap will be formed. So because of this gap, or some plates when get submerged under this plates, then also a gap is formed. So this would be called as trench. Okay. So what's over here? So we can see what these are the deepest part of the ocean with bottoms far below the average level of the ocean floor. That means if this is the ocean and this is the trench, so we can see if we can calculate the average depth of the ocean from the surface, this would be the deepest place. The trenches lie along the fringes of the deep sea plain. These are the location of the place, and few examples are given over here. These are steep valleys forming deep gorges, ocean floor. They are mainly restricted to continental shelf and continental. That means these trenches are formed generally near the continental shelf and continental slope and rises. We have already discussed where this continental slope was present. Continental shelf was here, continental slope, continental rise, and then the abyssal plain. So this was the entire reason. So this Mariana Trench, these trenches are present in almost this area. Okay. Next is submarine canyon. So we have seen the canyons also, how these canyons are formed. In geomorphology we have studied that when a river is moving, a V-shaped valley is formed, and when further due to erosional effect, this V-shaped valley converts to U-shape, and when further it keep on eroding, it gets more deeper and form a more U-shaped valley. So this was considered as canyon. So if this process happens under the ocean water, that process or that formation of landform would be called as submarine canyons. Okay, so this is the canyon. And if we talk about the other relief of the continent or the oceanic plates, not continent, the other relief of the continents, what are those? Those are the ridges. So we know ridges, how these ridges are formed when there are two plates, one plate gets submerged, or when they move away from each other, a volcano erupts, and when volcano erupts, it will form a mountain that will call as ridges. And if there is lots of mountain form, if many mountains are formed because of this process next to each other, those will be called arc of volcanoes or arc of mountain. Next is guyards. So when these mountains, when the edge or the top of the mountain are little eroded and they are flattened, so these are called as guts. Abyssal hills are formed in the same process. When on the abyssal plain, we have seen abyssal plain, which is 40% of the ocean. When these hills are formed in series, which does not move out of the water body, that means surface, they don't move or bulge out of the water body or the surface of the ocean, they are called as abyssal hills. Canyons 15. And the other important factor or the oceanic relief is bay. So we know bay or gulf. So these bay and gulfs are formed on the coastline. So how these are formed? As you know, Bay of Bengal or Gulf of Mexico. So these are formed. There is a simple process, as we know, we have studied in geomorphology, the arrangement of the rock structure. Sometimes what happens, the rock structure are arranged in such a manner if they are present in this way. So over here, one would be hard rock, the other would be soft rock, other would be hard rock, and this would be soft rock. And again, if we draw one soft and hard, so what will happen during erosion? If this is the ocean water, when it strikes this slope, this surface, it continues to strike over here. After the striking, what will happen? The soft part of the rock will be eroded. How it will be eroded? See, this will happen. So this has happened. So this is eroded. This is also eroded. So this part, the part which moved backward, this would be called as bay, and the part which is in front, this would be called as gulf. So this is simple formation of bay and gulf. Now the next factor that we are going to learn in today's video is temperature and salinity of ocean water. So as we know, ocean water is saline in nature. Saline means the salt is present in the water. It's not fresh water, it can't be consumed directly. So there are factors like temperature is a factor which is responsible for salinity, or else we can see how this temperature vary from place to place. In ocean, if on the surface, what will be the ocean, what will be temperature at the bottom of the ocean, what would be temperature at the coast of the ocean, what will be the temperature of the ocean at mid or near the abyssal plain. So we have to see these things in video. So we'll see over here, the temperature of the world ocean is highly variable, already seen. And over the surface of the ocean, it's not necessary that over the surface also temperature would be same. It ranges from less than 0 degrees Celsius. That means it can go below 0 degrees Celsius, and as you can see, there are several sea which are frozen near the poles. So over there the temperature goes below 0 degrees Celsius, and it can be more than 29 degrees Celsius or 94 degrees Fahrenheit at normal places near tropics. Why near tropic? Because see, if you remember the latitudes in climatology, we have seen this is the equator, these are the tropic zone, and these are the polar zone. So where the temperature was maximum, the temperature was maximum near the equator. We have seen that temperature was maximum near the equator, and after that the temperature kept on decreasing as we move towards the pole. See, the ocean which are present near the equator or the tropics would be warmer as compared to the ocean present near the poles. So from here it is clear, as we move upwards, the temperature of the ocean would decrease or increase. It would decrease. Why it will decrease? Because the amount of sun rays which is received by Earth's surface will keep on decreasing as we move near the poles. So at the equator or the tropics, the temperature would be more, and as we move on, the temperature will keep decreasing. So what are the other factors? Let's see over here. Distribution. So how this temperature of the ocean water are distributed. So it depends, as I said, it depends upon the latitudinal structure also. So temperature of the ocean water decreases as we move away from the equator. I've already told the average temperature of ocean water is 26 degrees Celsius in open seas at equator, but the temperature decreases to 23 to 20 degree at north and south latitude, and temperature further decreases to 14 at 40 latitude and 1 degree at 60. So see, you can see first 26 is the maximum temperature near the equator, then 23 when we move upwards, that means in tropic zone. Later when we need subpolar zone, it is 14 degree, and at polar zone it is 1 degree. So not at polar zone, at 60 degree latitude it's going over here. So at 60 degree latitude it would be 20 degree, and below that it will be 40, below that 23, and near equator it will be 26 degrees Celsius. And at poles we know very well it will be freezing below 0 degrees Celsius at polar regions. Now what are the factors responsible for? So changing season. So as we know, there are various factors changing season. If at some places rainfall is there or winter season is there, and during winter season the temperature would be lesser as compared to the temperature in summer season. Enclosed sea means the closed sea or the open sea. And next is effect of ocean current. Ocean current means the movement of water, energy on the surface of water. So since there is a movement, continuous movement, so the temperature will also vary from place to place because of this movement. Wherever the movement is more, the temperature would be less. Iceberg, landmarks. This vertical distribution means how the temperature is distributed vertically. So over here you can see, up to depth of about 10 meter, the temperature of water is about the same as that of surface. That means from the surface till 10 meter, the temperature would be same. If it is 20 degrees Celsius over here, so till 10 meter the temperature would be same. But as we move downwards, it keeps on decreasing. And what is the fall in temperature? So 15 to about 2 degrees Celsius till 1800 meters. So if you go below this 10 meter surface till 1800 meter surface, so temperature here, if it is 15 degrees Celsius, so at the bottom it could be 2 degrees Celsius, and so on. It will keep decreasing as we move below, and it will also vary on the latitude. That means on what latitudes the ocean is lying. The factors which are responsible for temperature distributions are upleveling of cold water, cold warm current, regional insulation, submarine topography, open and closed sea. So these, I hope it is clear. Regional insolation means the amount of energy, heat energy received by sun, cold and warm current. This also we know. So the cold and warm current are distributed as per the latitude only. So if you want to remember wherever the where current is cold and where current is warm, so you can remember by a simple formula that when you move from lower latitude to higher latitude, the current would be warm. This is lower latitude, and if we move towards the higher latitude, the current would be warm. Why it would be warm? Because the temperature or the amount of sun energy received at this place would be more as compared to this place. That's why it will be warm. And similarly, opposite of this, if we move from higher latitude to lower latitude, what is the higher latitude? And the temperature would be cold. Why it would be cold? It is also very clear, because the sun energy receiving in these area would be lesser as compared to the equator. Talking about the salinity of water, salinity simply means the content of the salt in the water. So this is generally measured by the presence of salt in 1 kilogram of seawater. So that would be the salinity of the water. There are several composition in the salinity of water. So those composition consist of sodium chloride, magnesium chloride, magnesium sulfate, calcium sulfate, potassium sulfate, calcium carbonate, magnesium bromide. So these are the content of salt present in water. As we know, NaCl, this is the salt that we consume directly. So that is the sodium chlorate is 77.75% present in the seawater. If we talk about the lakes, there are several lakes also which have salinity. It's not that only sea would have saline in nature, but there are several lakes also. That is Great Salt Lake, which is 220% saline, Dead Sea 240% saline, Lake Van 330% saline, but the general salinity of the sea varies from 35 to 40%. What would the reason of salinity? So there are various reasons which determines the salinity range. That means whether the water is saline, less saline, or more saline. So evaporation and precipitation. So evaporation, what we mean by evaporation? Evaporation means the evaporation of water which is present on the ocean. So when there is a solution, so you have to understand by a solution. So if you get a water in a container and mix salt in that, and if you heat that water, the water will evaporate, but the salt will still remain there. And now you can see the concentration of salt increases as the amount of water decreases. So that's why salinity increases with increase in evaporation. Whereas in case of precipitation, the water content, precipitation means adding water, means rainfall would be there and more water will be added to that place. So in that case, salinity will decrease. Stream runs means fresh water. When fresh water comes into ocean, so in that case salinity will decrease. Freezing and melting, what will this happen? So in polar region there are very little evaporation, and this coupled with melting of ice and fresh water. So in polar region ices are there but evaporation is late, but still ices are melting, and when these ices are melting, and because of that the salinity will be lesser in case of polar region. So if you want to remember salinity, so these kind of question can be asked in exam also. So if you remember the latitudes, over here again we'll take example of latitude. So in this case what happened, this is equator, this is tropical polar region, and this is the polar region. Okay, so the maximum salinity present would be at tropical region. Whatever area would be there, whatever lands or the whatever water body would be there in tropical region, either in this tropical region or this tropical region, the salinity would be maximum at this place. Okay, whereas when you either move towards pole or you move towards the equator, the salinity will always decrease. So this is simple way to learn how salinity varies from different latitudes on the earth's surface. Just remember this formula one statement, that the salinity is maximum at tropic, in either tropic of Cancer or tropic of Capricorn, and when we move towards equator or you move towards the equator, the salinity keeps on decreasing. It's maximum at tropical region. Okay, next is atmospheric pressure and wind direction. So these are also responsible for change in salinity. Next is ocean current. So similarly, when water moves from one place to another place, this also hampers the salinity of the water body. So whether it will increase or decrease, it depends upon the ocean currents, how it is moving. Ocean current simply means the amount of water, the huge amount of water moving in single direction. So as we have seen air masses in climatology, if you remember, similarly when huge mass of water body is moving from one place to another place in single direction for covering a huge distance, so that would be called as ocean current. So when amount of water is moving from one place to another, so the where this amount of water will reach, there the salinity will decrease, but from where the place from where this water body has been brought up, over there salinity will increase. Okay, So this is the ocean current, which you have understood. Next is oceanic movement. Now there is certain movement in water body like oceanic waves, tides and currents. So we'll see these individually. So starting with waves, what is a wave? So you know a wave very well. Waves are the movement of any energy in form of wave. It's just a movement of energy, not actually the water doesn't move, but the energy moves with the help of wind. When there is a friction between wind and the surface of the ocean, then we can see the formation of waves. So simply this means the wave, and in wave we have seen the wavelength, how this wavelength varies. So this wavelength varies according to the depth. So if this is a ocean surface, and this is the slope, continental rise we have already seen, and these are the waves. So when this reaches near the slope, the amplitude of the wave rises. That means that there are shorter wavelength is shorter, but as we move down in the ocean, the wavelength increases. How it increases? Because it doesn't strike the surface of the ocean. That's why the wavelength is more in the middle of the ocean as compared to the surface, near the continent. So this is the wave. Next is tides. So tides, we know this very well, the movement of water, either high tide and low tide. There are only two types of tides which you know, the high tide and the low tide, and these tides are responsible for the movement of water from the ocean due to the gravitational force of either sun or moon. So when sun or moon pulls the water body from the surface of the earth, these water tends to move upwards or move downwards. This is called simply a tide. So there are two kind of tides. So there are several kind of tides, but generally on the basis of, there are parameters which divide the types of tides. So if we see the tide on the basis of position of sun and earth, so those are divided into spring tide and neap tide. So what are these spring tide and neap tide? We need to see this diagram and then understand. So when the position of the sun and earth are aligned together, so if this is earth, sun and moon, so when they are aligned together in this case, and they are pulling equal pull of gravitational pull is there, not equal actually, sun is bigger than moon, there would be some gravitational force acting, but when they are in opposite direction and they are causing an effect which is called as Syzygy effect, Syzygy gravitational pull. So in this case, water rises at certain level when there is gravitational pull from the sun or the moon from the both side, and when the gravitational pull ends, this water tends to move to its normal position. So this position when this water body is pulled towards the sun or the moon, that will be called as high tide, and when there is no pulling, you can see at the other opposite ends, that would be the phase of low tide, and this is called as spring tide. Either this could be position, and other position, possible position is that when the sun and moon are both on the same side, so sun is here, moon is here, and earth is this side, so a combined gravitational force act on earth's surface and water body is pulled away. Okay, so this is called as spring tide. The other kind of tide is neap tide. In neap tide, what happened, the position of moon is quadrilateral. Quadrilateral means at somewhere around 90 degree or something like that. So if sun is here, earth is here, and moon is at quadrilateral, you can see the distance over here, and other case could be if the moon is on the other side, again the angle which is making is almost 90 degrees, so this is called quadrilateral position, and in this time the tide would be lesser as compared to the tide in spring tide. Why it would be lesser? Because at during the spring tide, the gravitational force of sun and moon were equally working, but in this case we can see the gravitational force of only one body, or if they are both body are active, they would be able to tend to pull the water on the earth's surface lesser as compared to the other case. So these are the tides based on the position of sun and moon. Now let's see the other tides, which are other kind of tide. So based on frequency means the time. So they are divided into semi-diurnal tides. What is the special effect of this tides? So these tides, two high tides and two low tides would be there in each day, and the high tide and low tide, their height would be same. That means if this was the high tide and this is the low tide, and in both cases, that means two high tides and low tides are coming, in both the cases the height of high tide as well as the height of low tide would be same. Next is diurnal tide. So in this case, in this semi-diurnal, what we saw, two high tide and two low tides were coming, but in case of diurnal tides, only one high tide and one low tide would be coming every day. Next is mixed tide. In this case, the variation are height variation are known as mixed tide. That means in the above two cases we have seen that the height of the low tide and the high tide would be same, but in this case they may vary depending on place to place. So these were the tides based on the frequency. What else is there? Ocean current. Ocean current we have already seen. But let me explain you once again. As we have seen in case of air masses, when huge amount of air, there was a land and the air mass which are present above this, after getting heated or cooled, they move in certain direction. So in this case also, when a huge amount of water body moves in single direction and covers a huge distance or long distance, then this would be called as ocean current. And there are several factors which are responsible for movement of these currents. Those are heating by solar energy, wind means wind would be responsible for carrying the ocean current in certain direction. Gravity would be pulling that ocean current towards each, and whereas the gravity from the moon and sun, they will be pulling these water in there, so there would be push and pull factor which are responsible for movement of this ocean current. Next is Coriolis effect. We have seen Coriolis effect in case of wind. When the earth was rotating on its axis, this also tends to the movement or change of direction of the wind, either in northern hemisphere or in southern hemisphere. Okay, this is Coriolis effect, type of ocean current. So there are several type of ocean current, but based on the cold and warm, there are based on temperature, there are two kinds of current: hot warm current and cold current. This I've already discussed. The current which are present near the equator are warm current, whereas the current which, as we go upwards or as we go in the southern or northern hemisphere, the current will be colder. The reason behind that, the receiving of the heat energy from the sun. And based on the surface depth, surface current and based on the depth of the surface current, based on the depth surface, it is divided into surface current as well as deep current. That means on the surface, near the surface, the current would be called as surface current, and whereas in deep in the ocean, this current would be called as deep water current. So this is all about the current. There are several kind of currents which are present, which you can read and understand from the map itself. So this ends the video today. So at the last we will see the type of sediments which are present. So the mud, oozes, clays. So these are the sediments which are there in the abyssal plain. So 40% of the area of the ocean bed is abyssal plain, we have already seen. So because of this, several sediments were there, and because of these sediments, the bed was very smooth as compared to ocean slope, or sorry, continental slope or continental shelf. So this ends the video today over here. I hope you have understood every topic. If there is any issue or if you have any doubt, you can always ask in the comment box. Most probably I'll try to answer those questions in next video. Thank you for watching. See you in next video. Till then, goodbye.